All right, hi guys. So we're going to be talking about the first episode of House of the Dragon, the prequel to the hit HBO show and George R. R. Martin book series Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire. We've only seen the first episode so far. I think some critics have seen 4 episodes. It was called Heirs of the Dragon, I believe. Uh, Watched it on Sunday. We're talking about it like a day or two later. I was a big Game of Thrones fan when it was on. Watched it every week from the first episode throughout. I was like everyone else. I sort of hated it as it went along. You, on the other hand, I showed you Game of Thrones like years after it was over.
Way after the hype.
Yeah, so you had a different experience.
Yeah, I mean, it was alright. I think the hype probably fed into a lot of, I guess, maybe what carried it into later seasons. Cause yeah, if you don't have the hype, it just you're not even that upset when it gets bad. You're just like, oh, okay, it kind of sucks now.
I don't know if I care about Game of Thrones anymore. It was still entertaining. I was shocked how good the first few seasons still were, like to watch.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was a great start, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like as a collective, everyone that watched it initially got to kind of be disappointed together, and there was some sort of camaraderie there. I didn't have that. I was just like, oh, I kind of knew to expect it to get bad.
So a lot of times when I've been talking about things recently, it's been negative with certain things I've been seeing on streaming services and stuff, and not to get political or controversial. But this wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't like preachy or political like I thought it was gonna be. I was really scared it
Yeah,
was gonna be like anti the patriarch and like women having to overcome these, male traditions that weren't going to work. Like I figured immediately that was going to be the message of
and
the show.
totally dropping any femininity with it.
Yeah, well, because the girls, I mean, I don't want to be mean, but like, it's not like they're not trying to give like the eye candy to the like they did in Game of Thrones, which I'm not even saying is a bad thing to be honest. Like the people look more realistic.
Hmm.
But I don't think anyone in the cast is like, there's no Kit Harington or Jason Momoa,
No.
all the actors from Game of Thrones. So like, um, I don't know. I don't even know how to talk about it because I just like I don't know how I feel yet because it's only one episode, so it's hard to
Well,
explain.
it was flat. I mean, it was good. It was entertaining, but you don't really know what to expect. There's no hints at anything. There's no major character development, really.
There's characters doing things, but I don't think it's development. Like the
Well, like,
characters just do things.
yeah, you get to kind of know their general, like, oh, this guy's probably bad. Oh, this is the little girl. But you don't really like. I don't know. Yeah, there's no. Well, because we already kind of talked about. There's no comedy to it.
There's no levity like Game of Thrones had. Yeah.
Someone's sense of humor or lack thereof in surrounded by people with a sense of humor gives a lot to their character. There's none of that. It's like, oh, you're all just boring.
Comedy is character. Yeah. No, that's the thing. It's like a BBC it's very like British wartime meeting
Yeah.
like it makes me think of like if they did a King Arthur show or some fantasy show. The only thing that makes it stand out a little bit is that like it's Game of Thrones. So you're setting there thinking, cuz it looks like Game of Thrones. It kind of feels like Game of Thrones, but it's not Game of Thrones. So
Mhm.
that made it weird too. It's hard to watch it without not thinking because they even at the beginning, like, this is 172 years before Daenerys Targaryen. I'm like, well, why are we even starting with this connection to 200 years? Like,
Yeah.
it, we'll get to that when we talk about the ending. I guess we'll just go through it. So, like, it starts and a girl's like riding a dragon.
Yeah.
She's,
Yeah, they jump right into the dragons.
yeah, it's like, oh, they clearly just made the show because they knew people would tune in because of dragons.
Well, they're like, we practiced this before. We know how to CGI.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it feels like. It's this thing. It's like immediately like dragon porn, like white haired people,
Yeah.
King's Landing. Like it's very. It doesn't feel that way because it's so subtle, but it's very gratuitous in like how much it's trying to evoke. Like, and then it has this. It opens like Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship
Yeah.
of the Ring, which I thought was just a terrible idea. Like, what the fuck is this? Why is Arwen like giving a speech over the
No, we just both looked at each other and we're like, what are they doing?
It's literally just the opening, except without like the battle, but it's all the build up. Like you're waiting for like if Gollum had showed up,
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, I was pretty much bored for like 15, 20 minutes in. I liked the actors, and then Matt Smith shows up. Doctor Who shows up as Prince Damien. Is that his name, Damien, or is it Damon?
You're asking me to remember
It's
that.
not Damien. I said Damien like he's the Omen. I think it's Damon. But he shows up and he's like sitting on the throne
Yeah.
with this like it's like a really nice shot. I really like it a lot, and and there's subtitles, and it's the first time it feels like something's happening for me in the show. It's like, oh, who's this guy? Why is he here?
Yeah.
It's
No.
felt incestuous between him and the like niece. I thought with the necklace and all
It's like
that.
when it's just like any of the like Disney shows where the dark character shows up and you're like, "Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
That's the bad guy."
yeah, he just that's the thing, it's very broad strokes. I thought, "Oh, they're gonna twist these things we think about these people. Some are gonna be less evil." And I thought him for sure. I said, "Oh, he's gonna be way better than I think he is." And then like throughout the thing, they just keep trying to make him shitty.
Well, I'm still mixed on whether he's like gonna be manipulating the girl or not, kind of like a little finger.
Yeah, well, that's the problem though. That's what you're hoping for. You're like, is this gonna start having like
But yeah, you almost don't know if he's like, is he doing things to her? Because
yeah,
that's I know that family line, like that's their thing.
well, that's the thing. And
There's
this
a
is
lot of family lines like that in Game of Thrones.
yeah, no, I'm waiting for relatives to have sex too. That's why I tuned in. But I
Oh,
maybe you didn't know that.
I didn't know the
Incest
main
porn is
reason.
the biggest porn right now, I would like to add, so Game of Thrones was onto something. Um,
They did their homework.
yeah.
The
You could
statistics
say
are
this about
in.
D&D, but they understood incest.
Yeah.
The No, well, I don't know, but he was interesting, and then, like, the Night's Watch, and then, like, stuff started happening, and it's all about, like, succession. It's all about, like, who's gonna be the king. The prince wants it. Is the pregnant queen gonna have a boy or a daughter? That's, like, the intrigue of the episode. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is gonna happen with the baby? Who becomes king? And they're setting up
Well, with
those.
part A of the episode, at least.
Yeah, the first half, you think, okay, this is all set up, and this episode might
Mm-hmm.
even end with her going to have the baby or some kind of um
Or yeah, with the baby born and
totally.
displaying her or
I
whatever.
totally thought that's how it was gonna end with something like that. And
Yeah.
then it keeps going, and then it's like I mean, it's insane. I mean, for a pilot to a television show, I mean, it's got that that's like enough for one episode. Like, okay, this estranged brother comes back home to join, to join the his council and to like get a big position, and him and the hand have tension between each other, and the daughter wants to be in power, but there's a thing with males in power, and you're like, okay, let's go, let's flesh this out.
Yeah.
And they do like 3 or 4 episodes worth of story in like the first episode of the show. It's like way more stuff happens in this than in the first episode
Well,
of Game
because
of Thrones.
the one episode makes you feel like you're binging.
Yeah, I felt like we watched it reminded me of the Stranger Things season recently, those long
Yeah.
episodes where it was like an episode was 2.5 hours, and it's like, did I just watch 6 episodes of Stranger Things?
And there were points that it just kind of like drug on too long. Like the whole fight scene with that looks like a Renaissance fair.
Yeah, it all builds up to a tournament, and Miguel Spocknoff or whatever his name is, the guy who did Battle of the Bastards, and
Yeah.
Um, he was like a famous Game of Thrones director. He's trying to do that stuff he did on those things where he's like cross-cutting between things. He did this in Winds of Winter and stuff. So it's like, okay, well, this tournament's happening. We're cutting back to her having the baby, and then we get to like the dramatic moment of, okay, you can save the child, but you have to kill the mother. We're gonna cut the baby out. And I gotta be honest, I did not see that coming. I did not think
No.
they were gonna go that hardcore in the first episode of the show. Like, that's about as hardcore as a lot of the things in Game of Thrones. It doesn't feel as hardcore. It doesn't have the impact, and I think it's because you don't give a shit on some level.
Well, yeah, you're not in love with her yet. Like she really didn't get any limelight. You have her kind of have like a shitty conversation with her daughter.
She takes a bath.
She tells her like, "No, you're not allowed to go be a warrior. You have to you're what a woman's battlefield is the birthing
It's
chair.
a womb or something.
No,
It's
it's like whatever they give birth in.
I forgot about that until you told me that she
Well,
fucking
cause,
said that. She
cause
does say that.
well, they focus on that because they're like, well, that's the parallel between the battle with the guys at I'm just gonna call it the Renaissance Fair because that's what it is in my
Yeah,
head. Um,
the Targaryen Renaissance
they're
fair of
jousting, but that's like their battlefield. That's for the men, and then they're saying like the woman, which I mean, yeah, women, died a lot in childbirth. Cool, but
that's real cool.
well,
That's my favorite thing.
no, but I mean, I'm not trying to diminish that, but you know, I don't know, your daughter can ride a dragon. Why are you telling not everyone there can ride a dragon. You're telling her she can't go be a warrior? Oh, you have to go give birth. Well, you can't guarantee those babies can ride dragons.
That's a great point. Like she should have just said I can ride a no, like
Because they established that in Game of Thrones. Only certain people
yeah,
can ride the dragons.
I don't understand like because they were so subtle with it. It wasn't like when he tells her like I'm gonna cut the baby out and like well he doesn't tell her but the way it's done.
Well, that's the thing. They don't tell her shit. They just start doing things
No,
to her.
and you
And
think
in modern times, that's so horrifying.
and you thought they were just gonna yeah I know it did feel
Yeah.
you knocked something it's fine. But it felt like they were gonna cut her open and like blood was gonna shoot out and it was gonna be
Yeah,
this
you're kind of
this
waiting for it to get super gory. It was very, like, surgical.
yeah I thought
They
like
made it so clinical with it. That's another reason you don't care. It wasn't, like, gory or horrific. It was and she didn't even react as much as, like, they're cutting you open,
yeah
and she's just, like, kind of, like, screaming.
it should have been gory as hell. I mean if you're gonna do that
She should
and
have been cussing his ass out.
because the thing is, I respect the like balls in the first episode to be like, okay, like we are gonna do something hardcore, but like, it's just, it's almost like they're so subtle about it, and it's so hardcore that it's off-putting in a way that Game of Thrones rarely was for me, especially in the early
Well,
seasons.
because of how cold.
It's so yeah, it's just dark.
Yeah.
It's just kind of nihilistic. Because the thing is, I was feeling the scene while they're
Mhm.
cutting back to this tournament that has no significance, and then they do a cut, and then the fucking baby's dead too, off camera.
Well, no, okay, so there was one little hint to it because there was something like the baby coughed weird or so I can't remember what it was because I thought,
Well,
"Oh,
she also
no."
set up that she had issues, the queen. She was
Yeah.
establishing, and she was saying that she like I think she even said she wasn't gonna have another baby if this didn't
They
work out.
had a whole discussion where she's like, "Can it be the last baby?" Like, asking him permission, "Can this be the last baby?" It's been hard on her and all that, but, yeah, I mean, there was some I can't remember exactly what it was, I think it was, like, the baby coughed weird or something, and then they cut right away from it, and I was like, "Oh, no.
Yeah,
Oh, they're gonna kill it."
yeah. You literally sat there and you went, "Oh no," and I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And I look over and I go, "Are you kidding me?" You're like, "Listen, we cut out the baby," and they're like, "And then we're gonna fucking kill it." Like,
Yeah.
and even that because you don't care about the baby, you're just like, "Oh, it's a dead baby now." Okay.
To be fair, that's historically accurate because a breached baby wouldn't probably live. Like, it depends how long she was breached, but it seems like it was a while. She was dying.
It's insane.
It's amazing the baby didn't come out stillborn. I mean, they have it come out like this perfectly healthy baby. Okay.
I think it should have been a dragon baby.
A dragon can't. Didn't she say something about that?
Yeah, I would like if she'd pop and they were like, "There's something wrong with it."
Oh,
I
yeah.
know sounds
No, when she's in the bath and
I
something wrong with
I know
it.
this sounds terrible, but like yeah, it'd be like you see little claws and he's like, "You don't want to look at your son," and the dad's like, "What is it?" And he moves the claw. He's like, "Ah!" Like fuck it. You know what? It's called House of the Dragon. Let's go. But um, that happened, and then like it goes on feels like another 30 minutes. Then they
Yeah.
do the War of the Brothers against each other, leading into more set like
Yeah, that should have been a separate episode.
100% episode 2 should have been dedicated to the yes, the relationship between sirens outside.
We're right near the station.
But the relationship with King Viserys. Um I can't believe I don't know how to say his fucking name. We watched this just like 2 days ago. Like is it Damon? Damon? I don't know. But um the two brothers, right? Like in conflict with each other when he like they have that like fight with each other where he's like, "Hey, I'm here to protect you. Everyone here's like against you. We're blood. You're
Mhm.
weak. and he's like a king for a day. He goes out drinking with his boys,
Yeah.
and he makes a joke, and they once again it's that director. He's doing the cross cutting. Like here's a flashback, but now we're in the present, and he's
Mhm.
gonna kick him out because of this thing.
After he literally went through the city and, like, mutilated the people that live there,
Yeah.
like, that's worse. Mocking I mean, listen, I know open wound, the guy just lost his wife and his baby, so he's like, "Don't make fun of it," but I don't know. I feel like he did a lot worse things previous to that. He was just running his mouth.
Well, the reason
In
Matt
a whorehouse, who
Well, the
cares?
reason the character's like the one that's the most compelling is he's the one with the most like agency, like he's doing stuff. Everyone else is sitting around
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about shit and they're kind of scheming, but like he
Well, that one scene of, like, him going vigilante on all the people there, because I mean, he was going after people that had done bad things, but it's still like, well, okay, there's no actual law there. He's taking it a vigilante, he's taking the law upon himself, but yeah, I don't know. That gave him way more character than anyone else. Like, yeah, the girl can ride dragons, but that dude literally sieged the city.
well, also like they do like the action is so much like quick cutting and like it's like that kind of fast editing that Ridley Scott Gladiator style. Like I was really disappointed in that too. Um,
Mm.
just aesthetically in general, like, I was disappointed how much it
Yeah,
looked like Game of Thrones.
underwhelming.
Yeah, the dragons did not look as good as they do on Game of Thrones. They looked a lot worse. I'm not saying they look bad, but it was not the same kind of level of, like, spectacle
Well,
of seeing the dragons
they didn't make
before.
him as menacing, you know?
I thought they looked more cartoony, like, I thought they tried to make them like Pokemon or Digimon. Like, he
Yeah.
had a big, long red one, and she had, like, a cute
Well, like
one.
when Charizard's like pouting.
Well, it's like How to Train Your Dragon. I mean, that's literally what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's like that vibe. It's like
I'm waiting for that little fat one that can't go very fast to come along.
I mean, honestly, like it's like fuck it, just do How to Train Your Dragon, the girl bonding with their dragon. I don't give a shit, but it's like I don't know, but just aesthetically, like the costumes, the way people look, the dialogue, everybody, it's so similar, but it takes place so much before that it doesn't feel that different, which and King's Landing and all that stuff. It's like we've seen it all before. But yeah, then the brother and him have a fight, and that's like a whole long extended thing, which feels like it should be a whole. That would have been a great second episode. I would have loved a second.
Flesh it out.
Yeah, just him being.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Them especially having more scenes together before that final scene. By the way, would have been really crucial.
Yeah, you really don't have an insight into their, like,
No, not at all.
background, like, their relationship with each other. I don't even really know what the guy did that his brother sent him away for.
It's just because he said king for a day, which I
No,
get.
no, not this time, like, previously, because they say, like, he tried to send him to, like, the City Watch, and,
I don't know. Yeah,
like, what did he do? We don't know.
Yeah, Hightower just hates him, and then like after the queen dies, there's another scene where he's like he tells his daughter to wear her dead mother's dress, and I thought he was saying like, "Hey, go fuck the king. I'm pimping you out." Was the implication, but
It
then nothing happens.
Well, because I think here, I don't know, it was a whole sequence. What I got out of it, yes, that father was like, "Hey," because he yells that out at the end. He's like, wear one of your mother's dresses, like, look more mature." But he was definitely telling her, like, go spend some time with him, keep him company. So she goes in, and I don't know, the dude just looked distraught. Didn't look like he wanted any company, let alone was he thinking of that. But then following it up is when he finally like acknowledges his daughter as, someone who could take lineage.
That's a great point. It's a beautiful point.
I
So
think
that
he realized, like, okay,
yeah,
my daughter's not just this property to go,
mm-hmm.
because the father he was treating his daughter like property, like, hey, we could get this royal lineage, you could give me the hookup, go sleep with this old man.
I didn't interpret it that way. That's interesting. I wish they had leaned into that more. Like, I like what you're saying, but I feel like I wish that had been, like, more dramatically
Yeah,
the
I
focus
feel
of
like I
what that scene
inferred a lot.
Yeah, like, I wish it was him even almost saying that on some level, like, or almost especially just, like, he, like, looks at her and there's a moment of him contemplating things that all sounds and they do it a little bit, but the way you're talking about it, I'm like, "That's interesting because I think that's probably true. That's probably the moment that inspires him more so than anything.
Because it's his daughter's best friend that
But see, dramatically, I felt like the decision was made in the show is when he hears the way they structured it was when he hears his brother say the thing, and he kicks him out, and he says, "I've already picked an heir." Did he pick her before he made that decision, or did I think
I
we're
don't
like getting
know.
in depth now about
Well, I'm
House
also
of
sitting here
Dragon?
like, to be fair, we don't know that he didn't fuck that girl.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't. That's the thing. Game of Thrones would have made very clear what the implications of what people were doing. We would be like,
Yeah.
Tywin Lannister's a bad dude. We would have no doubt. Like you would see, you go, that dude's a bastard. Like with this, I'm like, I don't know if it's that the characters are complex or they're just generic and they're not going to do that. If they end up doing those things with them, then I think this was a really smart decision in some ways to be so subtle. But I'm scared that the show's going to be like this
Too restricted.
the whole time. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're gonna be too scared to do anything out of fear of criticism that they'll keep it too safe, kind of what they
They
choose to
really
do.
can't do anything anymore. Because, I mean, the stuff that they used to put in there,
Yeah, I don't know if they
you
would do that kind of stuff again.
I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of audiences that are turned off to it now. I don't know. I mean, we're all a little more sensitive these days.
Yeah, that's true. No, it isn't 2011 when Game of Thrones came out. I mean, that was a long
Yeah.
time ago. I that is just a fact. It's like it's a different time, but
Yeah.
I don't know. But also, just how do you get the characters back or the politics, or anything like have the Varys or Littlefinger and all that stuff again? I just don't know. You get all that back, and just the way it ended with him making her, which was another huge plot development. Why isn't that the third episode?
That should have been a whole episode.
At the end, he makes her queen. It's like I felt like I watched a movie, which some people might say that's great, but it was like
Well,
then it's 60 minutes though. It's a short movie. Like it
see,
should be two
here well,
hours.
here's my thought. Like, why if it were Game of Thrones, I would imagine like you could do a whole episode devoted to his decision on whether his daughter can be the heir or not after he loses his intended heir.
And everybody talking about it.
And he goes through all that personal strife, and you get to flesh out his character in that episode because he has to make the decision: am I sleeping with my daughter's best friend? Am I gonna go for another male heir and use a younger womb, or am I just going to lean into my daughter who can ride dragons? And I just want to emphasize it. This girl can ride dragons. Like, and they even mention, "Oh, your dragon's getting so big. He's going to be as big as like probably the one, I don't know which one, but probably the one that's head is down in the basement."
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you could really have him and you could have him go to a mentor that is like, like a Varys or something and then bring that character. And they didn't do any of that because they just rushed it all into the first episode.
Yeah, I'll say this because we've gone a little long, so I'll try to wrap it up here quick because I think we went through the plot pretty much.
We've been holding back discussing this, so
Yeah, we went through the. I'm just gonna say like yeah, basically what we said like I think they rushed the storytelling
yeah.
and they didn't spend enough time to let the characters breathe. There wasn't enough exchanges between certain characters to get to certain points that they got to. Having said that, I think I can say so I see some people are loving this, and then other people it's going to be a thing, and I think it's going to play out over the episodes. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
But how I feel right now, I would say that I'm positive about House of Dragon, and I want to watch more, and I want to see what happens from this point forward.
Yeah. I mean, they can definitely, like I said, they may have just gone a little overzealous and just, yeah, wanted to throw too many things into it at
I
once.
think because they knew everybody was going to watch it, they
But
thought
they,
we have to put a bunch. It has to have so much happen. It has to be big and
but
have
it
big
really
things in
did
it.
build a lot of foundation, and you never know, they might utilize flashbacks to add more information later or something.
It's weird to say. I just wish it had been. It was almost slow, but I wish it had been slower in a different way, where it just
Yeah.
spent more time
Well,
on
that
things.
conversation aspect that was lost in later Game of Thrones, like
Yes, people barely had conversations. It
yeah,
was like,
that would have
yeah,
been helpful with a lot of this. I mean, there was a huge fight scene that really did little for it.
yeah. I would have rather had intense dialogue
You
exchanges
could have had
than.
like two cut back and like twice where you cut back and forth between like the birthing scene and the fighting scene. That would have been plenty. They did it so
No,
much.
it goes on forever. Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely. Yeah, some things are too long and other things are too short.
But I mean, yeah, overall I enjoyed it. It was a fun watch.
Yeah, it's like just it's just like okay enough that it's watchable the whole time to where you're never out of it. I was never like, oh, I want this to end already. Like I was
Yeah, they
enjoying
do
it.
bring it once you start to tune out of it, they always bring it back around, so
Yeah,
keeps you in it.
yeah. So we like it. Hopefully this could, because I'm just scared. Like this is now, but like 8 9 weeks from now, it could be like, well,
It could be really yeah. I mean, it could be really great too, you never know.
that's the hope, right? Is that it gets better as it goes. Yeah, which is what Game of Thrones did.
I mean,
But
it's an
that's
interesting premise. We all want to know more about
oh,
the
one
House
more
of the
thing too. One
Dragon.
more thing. They bring up the fucking White Walkers at the end, the long night and all that. They bring up the winter. He talks about
Yeah.
mythology. Did not like that either. Like, don't remind me. I know how it ends. It sucks. Don't make me even think of that. What a horrible idea. Like, that was a horrible idea. It's like, don't even bring any of that shit up.
And
Like,
I thought that was all restricted to Winterfell and like beyond the wall. I thought people down in the southern areas didn't believe in it.
well, this is book stuff. So, we're not book experts, so I'm sure there's better
True.
explanations for the lore. I'm just saying, watching it as a show, I didn't want to hear about that after Game of Thrones. I'll put it that way. For book
Source thought,
fans, that might
yeah.
be different. But yeah, we both liked it. We're gonna watch the second episode on Sunday and hopefully try to upload talking about it on Monday as opposed to a couple days after. So look forward to that.
Yeah.